Hey folks, today we're preparing substrate for the big aquarium. It's a big job. I'm gonna need some Advil. It's coming right up. Hey YouTube, this is Pecktec, and today I want to talk about the substrate that I used for this aquarium. Now this isn't actually completely done. I've got a couple of hardscape items in here, and I've got some substrate in here, but there's a little bit more to go. But the thing is, I'm getting this huge pack of plants from H2O Plants. It's coming in very soon, and I don't want to plan too much of the hardscape. I got the major pieces that I'm going to need to work around done, but I don't want to plan too much of the hardscape until the plants come in, so I can really kind of visualize how everything's going to look. The method I've used for the substrate I've used over and over again in different ways. The only variation is that I usually don't cap it with sand. I chose the sand especially because Mr. Tubes, Polly's, the Bichers, they don't like gravel and that sort of thing. They tend to eat off the ground, and they hunt by smell. They can't see very well. So there's every chance in the world that they're going to get gravel or something in their mouth when they're trying to eat, and that can impact them and cause all kinds of problems internally. Substrate like sand and things like the soil-based substrates that actually will break down and stuff like that, they're safer to use. And so I wanted to make sure I had something that was real friendly to him. There's another phase to the substrate that I'm going to do when I actually go to plant. It involves the soil. I've got just a couple of bags of aquasolium, and I've got kind of a plan for what to do with that. I haven't seen anybody do it before. Well, not in exactly this way, like in the way I'm thinking about it. So it'll be interesting to see if that works or if it just makes a mess. Okay, but without further ado, here's step by step how this came together. Now, I don't want to get too vloggy with all this, but I wanted to let you guys know I wanted to get a little further along with this tank than I have by now, but it's been really busy. Our whole corporate office just moved to this great location downtown, and I've been really busy with that. Plus, Holly and I celebrated our 21st anniversary and her birthday. A lot of this build has been a lot of late night trips to the aquarium looking for supplies and stuff like that. I did manage to get quite a bit of soil. I've got a bunch of fluorite that I'm going to use on this, and I've got some aquasolium left over from the 20-gallon. I don't really have much of that, so I want to seek some sort of alternative substrates with this. The other thing is, it's been raining like crazy. It has been raining for like the past couple of days, and it's really lousy. I had one more stop to make for substrate today, and oddly enough, I ended up at our pool place, which also sells lots and lots of Christmas trees. Now, the reason I went to the pool place is because they have this terrific stuff called pool filter sand. Now, pool filter sand is very cheap. 100 pounds of it costs $12, and it is a dream to plant in. Now, to address some of the hardscaping concerns, I have a bunch of wood, but most of it's pretty small. The same goes for my rocks. I've just got these little small aquascape size rocks. Not really appropriate for the big tank. Now, I did find some more wood, and I've got it all soaking in the 55, just trying to saturate it with water as much as I can. But the big piece that I'm going to use from this, I actually got from Universal Rocks. Now, a big advantage of getting a big piece of wood like this versus a real piece of wood is it won't leach quite as much stuff into the water, and it's not even tannins. It's wood constantly breaks down in your aquarium, so what it does is this cuts back on that a lot, and will just help keep your filters a little bit cleaner, plus give the fish a great place to hide. Unfortunately, I didn't measure it quite right, and I was going to have to do a little bit of surgery on this piece of wood to get it to fit just a little bit too wide. Now, I made this thing to wash gravel with a long time ago, and I've used it for just about every gravel washing that I've had to do. It's great. It's just a regular 5-gallon bucket with holes in it. Now, I don't know if you've ever used fluorite before, but this is one of those substrates you absolutely must rinse off. If you don't, and the first time I used this, I didn't rinse it at all, and I had just this huge mud cube for probably weeks and weeks. As you can see from the water there, it just gets incredibly muddy. But what you want to do is I rinse it out until the water starts to run pretty clear, and then I take it all and I dump it in like a regular bucket. I'll rinse all the residual mud and stuff out of there, and then I dump it back in and I start the process all over again. I'll normally rinse this stuff maybe 2 or 3 times for each bag of substrate, and the reason I do is it gets incredibly muddy. I mean, you can see just pouring a little bit of water in there. Look at that muddy water running out. You know, even if I rinse this 6 or 7 times, it would still run pretty muddy, but if you can get most of it out, that's really what the goal is. Now this is the result of about 4 bags of substrate. I bought 6 in total. Oh, and a pro tip, these plastic bags that they come in, these are really handy if you've got a lot of plants to trim and stuff, and I keep one of these near my garbage can to dump the trimmings into anything I would normally throw away. Now with my substrate, it's time to pull out the wood. As you can see, I gave it a little bit of a trim there, which actually helped me end up with 2 pieces of wood to work with, which is pretty cool. After that, it was just a matter of pouring it all in there. Even now, I'm always still amazed at the scale. It's like everything I have to do is like I have to do 7 or 18 times more. This is probably the most substrate I've ever prepared in one day to go into a tank. Everything you see right here is actually going to be at the bottom. What I tend to do is I turn it all into this big cake, and I'm just going to kind of flatten it out and put it towards the back. This is going to give me a nice thick layer underneath that the plants can really root up in. And the other thing is this stuff is super rich in iron, so if you got plants that have some red in them and stuff, that they'll really appreciate this. And it lasts forever. This stuff lasts for years and years and years. I've had tanks go 10 years or more with this at the core of them, and never really had a great deal of old tank syndrome. When I cake the substrate up, I always leave that space in the front empty, and the reason is just for aesthetics. I just don't want to see both layers of that stuff in there, and also it helps save a little money. You know, it's just a little bit extra I won't have to use. And then when I go to pour the pull filter sand, I always start by pouring it down the front and then working it around the rest of the way. And mostly what I'm doing here is I'm just kind of giving a nice even distribution of sand across the top of it. And of course the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this wood, this bigger piece of wood, and just try to kind of figure out how I want to work it in there. Now you saw all those smaller pieces of wood that are soaking and stuff. I may or may not use a lot of that. I've got a couple of plans for what I want to do, but I really want to see all the plants before I start adding any more hardscape material. Once I get the plants in, I start thinking about what I want to do with them. Then I'll start bringing in more hardscape and materials like that, and just kind of see what makes sense. Even as I shot this tank, I've got more and more stuff arriving in the mail. So look forward to more videos on this tank. We've got a little ways to go, but we're getting so much closer than we were before. Hey guys, I just wanted to tell you that Northfin USA has offered to my viewers a special on their fish food. We enjoy their beta food quite a lot. Our betas love this stuff. So feel free to use that code Pecktec12. Pecktec12 for 12% off Northfin USA. Enjoy. Now I've got a couple more projects. I want to get water in it very soon, so hopefully the next project will be planting. But I've also got CO2 that we're going to add to this system, and of course new lights that could come from Santa Claus. I'm guessing Santa might. Yeah. But we'll have all that coming at you next week. Until then, follow your bliss, keep a clean tank, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye. There's another state. There's another. All right, but without further ado, Northfin USA, Northfin USA, get 12% off. If not, I've got a couple of other. Yep, that's how it came together. And goodbye.